This episode of A Conversation with John Conenna is sponsored by Generate. In today's digital age, staying ahead means harnessing the power of generative AI. Wondering how your small or medium-sized business can join this revolution? Look no further than Generate, your strategic partner for integrating cutting-edge generative AI solutions. We create personalized plans, adapting existing AI technologies to fit your specific business needs. Plus, our expert team provides essential training, empowering you to make the most of these innovative technologies. Interested in transforming your business with AI? Reach out to us at generateteam@gmail.com. That's generate, GENERAIT, team@gmail.com. And now, on with the episode.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of A Conversation with John Conenna. Tonight, I'm going to be like a little boy in the candy store. I went on a site a couple months back called Cool Ice Images, and it brought me back to a time when I had hockey cards, posters that came out of the Hockey Illustrated, but these pictures that you're going to see, sport paintings, print requests, and everything else, come from Cool Ice Images. And tonight, I am proud and honored to have on the president of the Cool Ice Images, Sebastien Chabauty, if my French is up to par tonight, is going to come on and tell us what this is all about, because this is just fantastic. And before I let him in, you'll see some of the prints that we'll talk about that are behind him. Sebastien, good evening, welcome, and what's going on with you, young man?
Hello, sir. I'm having a lot of fun. It's all about bringing back all these players back to life, basically on pictures and paintings and prints.
Oh.
And I do a lot of players that, a lot of people want the big names like Gretzky and all those guys, but I really specialize and love to do players that nobody talks about anymore for some reason, like Gilles Gilbert, Phil Muir, name them, like Doc Sotar, Ed Stanowski, all those guys that nobody will really talk about anymore. And I just love painting those guys. And as soon as I paint them and I put them up online, it just brings back memories and people love it, and it makes me very happy. Like you look at Chicago, everybody talks Chicago goaltender, legend, Tony Esposito. Everybody will say Tony. But then I like the guys like Mike Weiser, and Warren right here. And those guys, when you sit down and talk to those guys, they're so down to earth, and they take them all. They'll sit down with you and they'll tell you stories. Like Rick St. Croix, I coached a little bit of juniors hockey with him, and the stories he was telling me out of Philadelphia was just unbelievable. It was so funny, and that keeps me moving. It's
Sebastien, for sure. How does it get started for you? When did this all start? Because I mean, these paintings, photographs, prints, they're fantastic. And I want to talk about what you said, like I love the players that we don't mention anymore, like a Mike Weiser, Gilles Villemure of the New York Rangers. How does it start for you? How does it start where you say, I'm going to dabble with this? Do you remember when and how you got involved?
Well, growing up in Quebec in the 70s, watching the mighty Habs, right? Ken Dryden and Michel Larocque, Bunny Larocque, and all those, right? And it started from there, because you know how it is in Quebec. It's politics, religion, and hockey.
Right.
That's what it's about. And we just, that's all it was. It was hockey when I grew up in the 70s. That's all we talked about. And I've always had a thing for goaltenders. There's something special about goaltending, and the leather, the mask, everything. And the more I digged into it and saw the different goalies as you grow up, the mask is a big thing, and they're so special. They're special breed, those guys. And like I'll paint anybody, but the goaltending is my specialty. I love doing goaltenders, and it all started from back then loving goalies, you know, and it's in you or it's not, right? Some people don't even care, and
Right.
I love, and that was one of my biggest things. That's why I brought you my Ken Dryden
The
mask.
Ken Dryden. You know what? And I'm glad you brought up Mr. Dryden. I will never forget 1971 when Dryden came up for 6 games at the end of the season. He had the pretzel mask before that mask, and still here in Chicago, we talk about Game 7 when he
Yes.
made a save on Jimmy Pappin with about 3 minutes left in the game. But again, you have really brought this back to life. I mean, this is something, and I think you hit it best here in the opening minutes of this, Sebastien, where, you know, it was an era that, you know, I can remember what Eddie Giacomin mask was, or Tony Esposito, or Jimmy Rutherford in Pittsburgh with the blue mask. Yeah, it just takes you back. But the prints, I mean, are fantastic. Do you get a lot of calling besides from the client, from the athlete himself over the years?
Yes. I've talked to quite a few goaltenders and players too. Like I met
Sure.
Dale Howard-Chalk, Mike Bossy, and those guys were amazing. They're so nice, Marcel Dion, and but the goaltending, it's something else. I mean, like when I met Warren Skordansky, he actually came to my place here. When I went to see him at a show, we had a booth right beside Warren because he sells things too, because he's having a blast doing this. And he had his skull mask, you know, the Warren mask, and just seeing it, it's not in the Hall of Fame. He keeps it with him, and trying to put it, I couldn't even fit it on my head. His melon is so small, I couldn't even fit it on my head. I guess I got a big head, and looking at the history in those masks, you know, and it even goes beyond that, like their stance, you know, like the way they stood at the face-off, you know, they are all different. Everybody was different, you know, because I'll watch an old game on TV, and my wife will be sitting there, and I'll say, "Hey, that's Ed Jackman. That's Doc Sotar. I can see by stance." Or she goes, "What do you mean by stance? Well, just the way he stands there, you know."
Yes.
Is, you know, and some people have no clue, but it's so easy to see for me anyway, because I study it, I look at it, and I know exactly who it is. I try to represent it on my prints and paintings and all that the best I can.
Oh, you've done a great job. Well, matter of fact, just above you, as you know, because off camera we did talk on phone and a little bit just now before, Esposito being my idol growing up here in Chicago, that is very familiar of him, that save that he's making. And of course, you bring up a great point. Esposito, of course, had the famous V style at a face-off. He'd have that V opening when he was taking the face-off, you know, or you had a Gump Worsley or a Eddie Giacomin who would stand up straight, you know, and put the pads together. Right.
Yes.
Right. Exactly. So that is a great point by you. And, you know, what I love and about all the figures that I've watched, and I hope you're going to be able, I think I see a stack by you that you'll be able to hold up as we get later in the interview. What I love about it is you've again brought back a save in a game, meaning by the portrait. You know, I can remember this Esposito was a save in the Boston Garden. It might have been on his brother Phil, just off the slot. Or I saw some beautiful pictures of Bernard Marcel Parent in Philadelphia that you did. Fantastic. And it brings me back to when the Flyers were winning those Stanley Cup championships.
If you look at this one, Gary Smith, that's the save at the end of his glove that he made in the playoffs against, I believe it was Yvan Cournoyer. It was a shot in the slot, and he made a save, and they scored just a few minutes later to eliminate Vancouver. But I talked to Gary while like emailing, and he loved it. He said that's the forum in the Montreal Forum that I did, and he was really happy. And he a whole bunch of prints, and I do lots of giveaways for fans, because I try to tell the goalies too, it's not all about the money and all that. I try to explain to them that I want him to sign because I'm gonna reach out to people that will never meet them. You know, their idols. And I've always told, like Ken Reggett, I talked to Ken Reggett on the phone, and I told him, "Do you mind me sending you a bunch of prints?" And I'm not saying 200 prints. I'm saying like 20 prints, right? And
Right.
you keep some and give them to your friends, family, whoever you want, and send back 10 to me. And I'm going to do a giveaway on Twitter or Facebook. And I'm going to randomly pick a person that is a fan of yours, you know, because they'll never get that chance to meet you, you know. And they're all for that. They love it. They're like, yes, of course, yeah, no problem. And that's what I do. And if you ever see me on Twitter or Facebook, I will do a giveaway, you know, and people are kind of shocked that I'm giving away an autograph of Yvan Cournoyer, or if I had Carey Price, I would do a Carey Price giveaway, you know.
Sure.
And
Sure.
won't do that. They'll charge money, and I don't. I just, you know, and even if the goalie charges a little bit of money, that's fine. It's not a big deal. It's not millions of dollars,
Right.
you know.
Right. But I see the passion with this with you. You know, I have to go back to the Smith picture because that was in 74, 75 when he stood on his head in that round and gave the Canadians a scare in 74, 75 because he was just incredible in that series. I
Yes.
do love some of the prints that you do, Sebastien, where you have not only I saw the one at Cheevers in Boston where he's I
Yeah.
think in the black and you have his mask above.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Do you get requests for different things? Meaning like the mask or the pads or the glove? Do you get a request? Or Sebastien, can you replay this save that Perrant made maybe on Kenny Hodge in the final minute of that game
Right.
6 in Philadelphia? Do you get that from the athlete or the client?
Not too much. No. What I get a lot. It's funny because maybe it's because of the way they see my paintings and prints, singled out players. You know, I really focus on the player. I don't really do. It's not me. I know a lot of other artists, and they do a wicked job at that. I'm not really into that. I'm more focused on one player, and it's always ice level that I do them. If you notice, they're all ice level.
Ice
They're not
level.
from top view or anything. It's just something that I don't like. I prefer to do, you know, like a stance or the way you're skating or a slap shot or things like that, which is what I focus on all the time. But most people that call me or message me is, can you make a Dan Bouchard Atlanta Flames? You know, and then I'll take it from there. I'll say, you know what? I'll find the perfect picture and already have it in my head, and then I'll tell them, which era do you want, and do you want them at home in white or red away?
The red
Which, because he had lots of different masks. I'll ask for all the little details that they want, and then I put it in there. And then as soon as they see it, they realize, oh my, that's exactly what I wanted. That's the player, right? And it's fun. And then I'll make some prints, and then I'll sell the prints on the side, or I'll get some autographs and I'll do giveaways, and it's just a lot of fun.
Oh, for sure. Now, I got to ask you something because I know you've said you'll do forwards, you'll do defensemen, you'll do anything, but your love for goaltenders. Were you a goaltender at one time?
Yeah, well, growing up playing goal all the time, but my parents couldn't afford the equipment growing up, so
Sure.
I left wing, and I was horrible.
Don't say that. No.
When I got older, old timers, and I ended up playing goalie. I bought my own equipment, and I would play goalie. And what's funny is that I always wore this old mask like this, like a Dryden mask, and
Right.
everybody wearing a cage and the newer style, but I always wore the old one. And I see that on Facebook once in a while. Some guys will go out there and they got the old mask, and everybody thought I was nuts. They were like, "Oh, you're gonna get hit in the eye or in the head. You're
Right.
crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Sit down. That's all you got to do."
Yeah. Yeah. When did you see, Sebastien, the creative side of you come out? How old were you when you knew? Because I know you had told me off camera about, with the hockey cards, or did you see it off a Hockey Illustrated or a Hockey Pictorial or your Hockey World, those magazines of the 70s and 80s? What makes you, what spurs you to get this going? Because again, this is fantastic, what's behind you.
The way I've always looked at it growing up is you see hockey cards and you see pictures of them like waist high, no helmet on or mask or anything. And I've always disliked that. I'm always, oh, okay, well, there's this face with this beard but the goalies that everybody loved to watch was, like the mask and their pose and and that really, for some reason, through the years, I was always telling myself, I'd love to paint a player, full player, and have a whole bunch of them. But it first started with these hockey cards. Here, I'll show you.
Yeah, please, and hold them up, Sebastien. Yeah. Oh yes, there's Rogatem Deschon. Rogatem Deschon.
Yeah. 6970, and I started with this because I love the 51, 52 Parkhurst, those little cards.
Right.
And I told myself, hey, I should make a set of the Montreal Canadiens 1969. So I did all the players. I did, I don't know, like 21 players or something like that.
Is that Andre Richard? Is that Andre?
That's I can't see. Ted Harris.
Oh, that was Ted Harris, the defenseman.
Oh,
yes.
I made them all. Like there's Phil Muir with a mask, and Gump Worsley, and they're kind of like cartoonish a little bit,
Yeah, but
like if you look at this
Jacques
one,
Lemaire. Jacques Lemaire, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I did the little things on the guy, but it's more caricature a little bit,
Well, can I ask you this question, Sebastien, when you're doing those cards the way you did them? Because I would love to have a set like that of my all-time Chicago Blackhawks if you could do it for me. But I have to tell you, how doing something like that, is it tedious? Does it take a lot of time to reprint, even though it's in maybe this cartoonish form of a Phil Muir, of a Jacques Lemaire? I mean, they look fantastic. How long does something like that take you?
Well, this was back, I believe, in 2005. I did that, and that's what started it. So actually, I was more sloppy back then, right?
Okay.
As the years go by, I make them way nicer now, so I can make it look better now. But it all depends on the person, right? I like to do like details on them. Like I do a lot of broken sticks. If you ever see my prints or paintings, you'll see you'll have like let me see. Well, you'll have like Ed Jackman sitting there, and his stick, if you look at the stick closely, he's missing a chunk out of it, because back then they were missing chunks out of them.
Yeah.
And it was off, hanging, dangling, and I put that in the prints, and people will notice also and go, hey, that stick is broken. And Warren Skordetsky is one of them that said, my stick is busted here. What is going on with a busted stick, So they love things like that,
Well, even the one of Esposito above you, he did have that tape over the glove.
Yes.
And that's it. And that's in the later years when he had the bars on the mask.
Yes. Yeah. This is my I think that's my third or fourth painting of him. That was the last one I did. I did two before that, and I made a Montreal one too, an older one, when he played with Montreal. And this is the one that Tony signed. They went to his place with the Joel Alpert, a good guy in Chicago. He does signings, and he told me that he was going to have Tony, and I sent him prints and this painting, and shipped it out. And I have a picture of him signing it and all that. And it's just before, it could have been a month before he passed away.
Oh, and it's still, tragic how that happened. Of course, I think it's going to be either 2 or 3 years coming up that we lost Tony. But again, just how you again brought this back, the broken stick, that when does it, like, going back to those, so you made those cards, this start now to take off for you? It little by little now you start to, but how do you get noticed where, hey, wow, how do you get noticed in the sense like how I noticed you, like, I gotta talk to this man? How does this get noticed? When do you finally see yourself getting noticed?
Well, the thing that happened is I made those cards and I kept making different teams. And I made a Bobby Orr, a small one. And I don't know why. I think I had just joined eBay back then. And they put it up for sale just for the heck of it, just to see what it would do. And someone from Massachusetts bought it. And it was like around, I think they paid me like $15 for this little teeny weeny card. And
Wow.
I was, wow, if I can sell a little card like that, I could probably sell some paintings or, anything.
Sure, sure.
So I started from there. I started to do like a 9 by 12 or 8 by 10, just colored pencil players and things like that. They didn't look that great, but it was fun enough and pushing me to keep going. And the fun about being an artist and doing things like that is that you see yourself progress, right?
Yes.
Uh, the biggest thing that I noticed when I was doing that was the shades, the jersey, like the creases and all that. And it brought the player out, like it brought it up to life. And it was like a three-dimensional all of a sudden instead of being flat. And that did a lot of things for me. I was like, wow, look at that, like the three-dimensional mask, and now it's not flat, and a lot of people like that. And that's what really got me going on these.
See, you as the artist got better and better with this. You saw the creativity from the start, Sebastien. Was it always in color, or did you choose maybe sometimes do like pencil graphics or just black and whites? Was it always in the color style that we see above you and below you?
Yes, after the cards, which were in color, I did like the 8 by 10s in just pencil and things like that. But that didn't last very long because it was it was almost like a very small stage, a fat stage to move into color. I needed that color in there, right? And
Yeah.
that's just, people love just black and white, and they love that. And I love some of those pictures that people do, but it wasn't me. I had to have color. And then I experimented with watercolor, oil, and acrylic. And acrylic was the one that I really liked because it's a very fast working paint. The watercolor wasn't for me. Oil wasn't for me, and acrylic
Yeah.
was it dries very quickly, and you can go over top, or you
Sure.
learn.
Does the acrylic, in your opinion, make it pop a little bit more from all the other things you tried?
Uh, no, it's no. It all depends on, like, I've seen guys like that are very very good. Do baseball players, and it's oil paints,
Got it.
and the just pops right out. It's beautiful. It all depends with the artist. That's all it is.
Is the calling for this now coming from like the guy like me, the fan of a Chicago Blackhawk team? Because I noticed, and I love your website, by the way. It's so organized where you could click on the team. Philadelphia, Vancouver, San Jose, click and you see the players that can be done. And of course, I want our audience to know you could do any player if you wanted. I know if it was Yager or whatever from the past, or Bobby Hall, Stan Mikita. I get that. But what is so nice, the organization of this, how you do it. What
Yeah,
are you
I
getting more? Are you go ahead? Are you getting more from the athlete himself of the past?
I've seen when I first started that site. Well, I was thinking about it with my wife. I said, instead of just trying to sell on Facebook, and actually, that all started with a friend of mine from school, and I made a Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the CFL. I made a Bombers quarterback, and I gave it to her, and she worked there at the stadium in Winnipeg, and she got to meet the players, and she showed it to one of the players, and he wanted a copy, and kind of shocked me. Oh wow! So I started doing different players and all that, and then he asked me for a copy so he could sign it and give some to his family members and all that. And I started with that, and the organization is that I found that if I had a site like Cool Ice Images, give it a name. I could have said Sebastien Chabauty,
Right.
art. But I thought, yeah, cool ice images, images of cool ice hockey players. So I put that on there, and then I started to organize it. The more players I made, right? Because at first, when I didn't have that many, I didn't need to put the teams. I just put the players in there. But now that I've picked close to 500 players now.
Jeez.
But I said, oh, I got to start putting the team names because it's all over the place. And so that's what I did. I said, well, if I put Montreal Canadiens, a Montreal fan will go on there, and then they'll see 20 paintings or prints. Usually it's my prints, not the paintings on there, because the paintings I usually sell to the customer. But I'll put the prints on there, and that's how I came about with organizing a site on there. And I always tell on Facebook or Twitter to go on the site, or when I do on the site and check out the players, and that's where it came from, really.
Oh, I mean, that's just fantastic. Now, here's an example of how creative you got. By the way, before I go on to this, how did you come up with the name, which is a great name, and talk about something popping, Cool Ice Images? How do you get this name? Is this all on your accord, or is it a family project? Did a friend say, call it Cool Ice Images, or is this Sebastian's way of calling things? How did you get it?
No, I sat down with my wife, and we were just naming things and throwing out names out there, and I, tell you the truth, I can't really remember. We just kept thinking, we just came up with the name. Like, they're kind of cool, right? Cool ice, yeah, and images. They're images. So we put all the words together. We put them backward, forward, and Cool Ice Images came up was the best,
Right.
for on. When I did baseball, then I couldn't really, Cool Ice Images, and it's a baseball player. What? And then you know what? Whatever. Just keep it the name Cool Ice Images baseball series, right? And then that's what I can't have.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to tell our audience, by the way, we're at like already. This is so intriguing. I love this about this tonight. We are visiting tonight with the president of Cool Ice Images, Sebastien Chabauty. Unbelievable work. An artist that has brought back vintage hockey players, you name it, football players, baseball, any kind of requests. This man can do it. It's just fantastic. As you see behind him, and I'm going to have him hold up some of those other prints here in a little bit too. I want to tell you, Sebastien, before I let you do that, there is, when I get off the camera with you tonight, I'm going to tell you the ones that I would like, and that would be in the print fashion, correct? In the print fashion. There's one of Esposito that I know you'll have to make for me. And he played at Michigan. He played at Michigan Tech before he went to the Montreal Canadiens and the Houston Apollos. He had a black mask. It's almost like a black mask before he wore that mask. And I said, if anybody can reprint, he wore it in Chicago for maybe half of his 69-70 season. And I go to myself the other night, if anybody can recreate this, it's Sebastien. Where do you get those kind of requests? Like, do you hear from somebody that says, I want Rogatins Vachon's first mask in Montreal, which do you get, or a Terry Sawchuk's, or do they, I see the Dryden mask of his second term. Do you get people that just want you to recreate a mask figure?
Just a mask?
Just the mask like we see there.
I've been told a few times, but not that many, because I guess I'm known for this, and no, not that much. I've been told, can you put a mask beside him? I've done a few of those. Jacques Plante with his Plante mask,
I saw that.
Gary Cobra Simmons with the Indian mask. I've done another one too. I've done Tony Esposito with which one was that? I think it's the Team Canada one that I did. He's in the Team Canada jersey, the 72 series.
72 series. Yes. Unbelievable.
So I've done things like that. My wife told me to do it by themselves, the mask, but I've never tried. I've been so busy with these guys that.
Sure. I like the touch of when you do it like this. And of course, like I told you earlier here in the interview, when we see the Cheevers mask on the side, or the Jacques Plante, the first mask when he came in 1959 after getting hit by Andy Bathgate, which was something else. Do you remember? Here's a question. Do you remember that maybe that first professional goaltender that came up to you and says, Sebastien, can you do a picture of me? Was there a call like that for you, or an email or a letter, or can I meet you in person? I want this recreated. Who was that first professional goaltender besides the clients?
Warren Skordensky was one of the first ones. And he came here to pick up the painting.
Wow.
And a ceramic mask of the skull mask autographed. He autographed it here, and we had a few drinks here. And we became friends and stayed friends. And he's very down to earth. He has horses and all that. And we have a little farm here. So we hit it off right away. Sure. And another person was Bobby Hall, too.
Oh, wow.
Friend of mine seen him in Winnipeg and brought him the prints, and he just loved it. It was the Chicago one. He's in Chicago. I don't think I had the Winnipeg Jets WHA made yet, but I had the Chicago one. I could make it. He went there, my friend, and Bobby signed it, and he said, give him, here's my phone number, and tell Sebastien to phone me. So I phoned him, and we had a conversation. And just a funny guy. We laughed. We talked about fishing and everything else. And then I told him I was going to make a WHA painting of the Jets with him, and he was ecstatic. He was happy, and he's very busy. It's Bobby Hall. I mean,
it's Bobby Hall, right?
And I said when I go to the Toronto show, because I have a booth at the Toronto Sport Expo. I'll come and meet you, because he was doing a lot of those shows at the time.
Signings, yes.
Sure enough, I did. He was there, and I went to meet him. I had the Winnipeg Jets one. We talked about Ducky, Dale Howard-Chuck, and because he just had passed away, Dale. And Bobby was funny. He was really funny. And he signed it, got a picture with him, and he loved it. He said, keep up the good work. This is a lot of fun, and they liked it because I made him skating with hair. Because at one time, bald there on top, so I made hair.
Oh, yeah, the hair comb over, yeah.
Yeah.
Sebastien, I have to ask you, let's just talk behind the ones behind you that are on the wall, the Smith, the Esposito. How long does something like this take to do for you?
It's funny. Sometimes if I'm right into it, I can do it in 3 days. I'll just paint. And sometimes I'm busy, so I got to leave it and go and come back, and could take a week. It all depends, right? Sure. The worst thing, artists, sometimes they're in the mood, sometimes they're not, and
like anything else, right? You have to be focused and ready to do it. So then off these ones that we see, then you make the prints off that, correct?
Yes, like you see this Martin Brodeur, I painted the player like this. Like this is a painting of Tony, right?
Tony.
And what I do is with the computer, I'll be able to put the logo in the back and make it larger. We make it 11 by 17. I came up with that size because it's easier for the player to sign it. Right? If it was small, some people ask, why don't you make him 8 by 10? Then there's not much room. But when you put a big thing like this, and like Bobby Orr right on the side, like it's easy for them,
to get in there and sign. Sure.
And it stands out, and they love it, and they can put a memo, they can put anything. Like this one here, Yvan Cournoyer, to Sebastien, Yvan Cournoyer, 10 Cups, Hall of Fame, 1982, number 12. So he put it all in there, and there's lots of room.
That's fantastic. The prints are what sizes? The prints, these prints that we.
Yeah, 11 by 17, and the original paintings are 11 by 14.
Got it. Okay, so 11 by 17. These are the prints that we see for that. That's $30 US that you see on the on the site. Fantastic. So I'm going to ask you, before we're going to play a little game of 5 questions before I let you go tonight, but I'm going to ask you, so your favorite team growing up, because this is going to have some bearing on these questions that I ask you. What was your favorite team growing up, and what is your favorite team now?
The Montreal Canadiens back then in the 70s, they were
Okay.
my favorite because I was growing up in Quebec at the time.
Quebec, yeah.
And don't know if I have one. I cheer for the Canadians, but it's just the style of hockey is not the same anymore. So
Exactly.
I love the Jets because we moved to Manitoba in 1980 when the Jets entered the league from the WHA. And that was the Sotard days and all those guys and Howard
Sure.
Chuck and Lucien Deblois and Maurice Lukowicz and Willie Lindstrom, Dave Babbage, and that
Great.
was fun. That was a
Yep.
lot of hockey. And that old arena they had, it smelled hockey in there, and it
You
was
smelled
loud.
it, exactly. What
It
year did
was
you start
loud.
watching?
They were
What year
saying loud as the Chicago Stadium. Both
Oh, yeah.
are very, very similar and
Similar.
loud. Yeah.
What year did you start watching the Montreal Canadiens?
Oh my God. That would have been early 70s, probably. Like
Oh.
74, 75, maybe.
And those,
But I was all
and those were some great years. Of course, they won so many Stanley Cups in the 70s with Mr. Dryden, Lemaire, and of course, Scotty Bowman, the famous coach. All right, I'm going to play a game with you of 5 questions, and let's see how you answer them. And because I know your time is valuable, and I really appreciate you coming on here, and hopefully we can maybe even do a part 2 somewhere down the road. But
yeah, for sure.
in regards to this business, Cool Ice Images, and you, the artist, who was an early mentor for you to get you into this? Do you remember a mentor? Was it your parents? Was it a friend, a lady friend? What that you still talk about to this day?
No one.
Okay.
I'll be frank with you. Nothing really. Nobody. My parents were never in sports. I'm the only sport fanatic in the family, and all my friends. When I left Quebec, I was small, so all my friends were left behind. Made new friends here. I've always loved hockey, and I'm a hockey fanatic for vintage hockey.
Yes.
And everybody's on, and it's like I'm staying behind. Like
Right,
people
right.
talk about this here, and I'm watching the Stanley Cup from 1975 on TV. So it's totally different for me. Nobody really. I was just my own push to get into this because I love it so much, and it was in my head.
This was your passion. So the answer on this really is Sebastien Chabauty. No, this is your passion. All right, I'm going to ask you a second question. Let's see how you answer this.
Yeah.
What is your favorite movie of all time that you could watch like 200 times and not get bored?
Slapshot.
Okay. I love the goaltender in Slapshot since we're speaking about goaltenders. That is a great movie.
Oh,
You have a favorite part of that movie?
Well, every part from Denis Lemieux is my favorite movie. Gold, of course. And I met him, and he's like, I think he's 5 feet tall. He's so small.
Did you ever do a picture of him?
Yes, and I gave it to him, and I got him signed and everything. He loves it, and he didn't even have one until I met him at the Toronto show. I said, "There's Denis Lemieux, Yvon Barrette. That's his name, so his real name. The actor Denis Lemieux." And I went to him, introduced myself, and super nice guy. And I said, "You signed my prints and my art." And he goes, "Oh, you're the one." I said, "Yes," because he had signed it before from other people. And I said, "Yvon, did anyone ever give you a print or anything?" He goes, "No." I said, "Well, here you go. This is for you."
Oh,
And he
wow,
was so
be...
picture taken together, and he's so funny.
I remember him always saying in that movie, owns, Okay. Put you a little bit on the spot here, but I can only give you one chance at this, okay? Of all the photos you've done, and you've done many, what are your top 5 favorites?
Top 5 favorites. Vladislav Tricek.
Oh, wow.
A
Russian goaltender.
Just the pose and his mask and everything, and he signed it. And oh my goodness, I've done so many. I really like my Eddie Belfour. I did.
There's some real nice ones that you've done of him.
Yeah, hold on.
You can hold that up for us, Sebastien. That'd be great. Oh yeah, that's in his Chicago white jersey.
Yeah,
Fantastic,
yeah.
fantastic. What a
And
painting, Sebastien. What a painting.
he's seen it, then he signed it. I can't really. I know he signed some of my prints. I've never met him yet. I hope to meet him one day. I really, oh my, I really like this Tony here.
You better
I
say that. You know better not to say.
really
Oh, yeah,
like this
there's
one.
Grand Fuhrer, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting with him in a picture, holding this,
Wow,
and
beautiful.
five different. I've made a lot of Grand Fuhrer. Though Grand Fuhrer and Mike Palmetier are the two most requested goalies that I get all
Wow,
the time.
wow.
Yeah, Tony's one of them too, but
Yeah.
Frank Fuhrer and Mike Palmetier all the time.
Oh
Like,
yeah, the Toronto goaltender, great. Yeah, and Palmetier was also. I think we have something in common. Palmetier, Fuhrer, and Tony were the catching the this way. Yeah, we exit. Yeah,
left-handed. Yeah, that's right. No, right-handed. Sorry, right-handed.
yeah, the
Yeah.
right-handed, right? Okay, so we're not going to talk about Prince, but we're still going to talk about goalies in question 4. We're not going to talk about your work. Your work is outstanding. Everybody knows it.
Awesome.
So since you have been watching hockey since the 70s, just like me, who
Yeah.
are your top 5 favorite top goalies in the world? 5. It could
Five.
be from the past or it could be now. Who are your top 5 goalies that you've seen play?
Dryden used to be my favorite, but he's come down to 5th because he wouldn't sign anything for me.
Oh, I can see that about Dryden.
Yes, I know. And so he's still up there, but kind of made me angry a little bit because I wanted to give some away, and people
Sure.
would have went nuts over that. A giveaway of Ken Dryden autograph, they would have been going crazy over it. And I told them
Exactly.
wouldn't do it. He just, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm like, oh, I can't believe it. But
I
that's
think it was
okay.
the whole Parliament thing.
I don't know. The thing is that the beauty is that I got to meet him, and he was my idol. And he held my mask. He was touching it everywhere and looking at it. He goes, "This is a beautiful mask. It's made by Tony DeLuca." And
He's up in Vancouver.
yeah, he said he loved the mask, and he was touching it. I was going to ask him to put it on, but he wouldn't have. So he wouldn't sign it. That's too bad. Because, I mean, no prints, no my paintings he wouldn't sign. But everybody else he wouldn't sign nothing either. But let's go back to that.
You got 4 left. You got 4 left.
Okay, Dryden, Jerry Cheevers, beautiful. Of them. There is one I really liked. Cheevers.
And I'm talking about what you saw them when they played. Your top 5 when they played. Yeah.
I love Doc Sotart.
Oh, Sotart.
Yeah, with the Jets because when he was in New York, I was a Montreal fan. I didn't even care about the Rangers at the time.
Right.
Grant Fuhr's one of them too.
Oh, great goaltender.
Fantastic goalie. Like he was so much fun to watch him,
Sure.
play. And another one, and I'll kick myself later on. Oh, why didn't I think of this guy? But there's so many of them.
So many of them for sure.
Yeah, I can't even think of it. Oh well, Mike Palmetier was another one.
Another great goaltender there in Toronto. Sure.
He was so acrobatic.
Oh,
it was
God.
unbelievable.
Sure.
And Tony, I love watching Tony Esposito. I mean,
we could go on and on with that one.
It felt like his pads were so heavy, Tony.
Yes.
When he got up, it's like.
Especially late in his career, I saw that he had slowed down. All right. Big time. Big time. What is in the future for you, Sebastien Chabauty? What is in the future for you with this Cool Ice Images? Where do you see this going? Because it's taken off tremendously.
It's it's all about fun. It's all about meeting players, getting autographs, and giving back to people. Sure. And the thing to me is, I don't know it was going to hit me like that, but when I went to the Toronto Expo or the Langley show, small shows in Winnipeg, I did the Edmonton show. As soon as you met people, that's the best thing in the world. When you see them smile and look like yourself when you look at the players and wow, I haven't seen this guy for so long. That makes me happy, and that's
Oh
what I
man.
just love that, and that's one of my biggest things. I had and it's all the little things, Mr. Stubbs, you know, I think you interviewed him, Big
Yes, I
Stubbs.
interviewed Mr. Stubbs in Canada, and of course, the great historian Paul Patzkow.
Yes. When I made this guy here, Tony Esposito, and I
Oh,
put it on Facebook, he reached out to me and he loved it. He told me that he was going to be seeing Tony the next day, apparently,
wow.
and going to show it to him. And he was asking my permission to show it to him. And I said, of course, show it to Tony.
Fantastic.
But things like that, it just pumps you up. You're like, wow, this is great,
It,
Like,
it makes you want to, do it for sure.
well,
Well,
if I can people like that, that's like when I met Guy Lafleur, and Guy Lafleur just loved it. Dale Howard Chuck loved it, and he came down and asked for if I could get him a bundle of them, of the prints.
sure.
Here, I'll show you the Dale Howard Chuck.
No,
And
I mean,
he says, if you can get me a bundle of them, like lots, he was thinking about signing him and giving him away at his golf tournaments.
unbelievable. Sebastien, I got to tell you, that is just looking at that is perfection at its best. And I'm glad you're holding that up for our audience. And that's, of course, the great Dale Howard Chuck, who we lost too early in our lives. But this is fantastic. Well, listen, your time is valuable. We're running a little bit out of time, but I have to say this to you. I want to hold up some of these before I let you go. Who's this one? Is this Arthur Zerbe?
Arthur Zerbe.
Yes, the great San Jose goaltender.
Autographed. Dino Ciccarelli.
Dino's not one of my favorites, but when he came to Chicago.
Yeah.
Is that Don Edwards?
That is Tom Barrasso.
Oh, that's Tom Barrasso. Okay.
Yeah. Barrasso, and then I got Ken Reggett.
Oh, yes, Kenny Reggett when he played for Pittsburgh. Oh, yeah, Mr. Brady. We can't forget Mr. Brady.
Mr. Brady, can't forget about him.
And who is this? Oh, this is the Buffalo Bills.
Bruce Smith.
Bruce Smith, big linebacker back in the day. Yes. Oh, wow. You brought these prints back to life.
Football fans out there and baseball fans. So.
And who is this gentleman here?
Sarah.
Oh, wow. Beautiful picture. And look at the recreation also there of the equipment and everything else. Yeah. And that New York logo in the background. Beautiful work, Sebastien.
Alan Bester.
And there's Alan Bester of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Fantastic. Sebastien, I'm going to just want to say something before I let you go here tonight. This was fantastic. And again, I really hope that I'm going to keep following you. And after we get off camera tonight, I'm going to tell you the ones that I want. But I have to tell you, this was fantastic. And in the best French that I can tell you right now, I'm going to try it. I took it for many years, but then lost it because I wasn't speaking. C'est un travail magnifique and merci beaucoup.
Vous êtes bienvenue.
Yeah, and what I want to tell everyone is his work is fantastic. And
thank you.
I want to thank this gentleman again, Sebastien Chabauty, for coming on here tonight. This is fantastic. We could be on here for 3 hours talking about these great players, great goaltenders that you've brought back to life. We'll get this out to our audience in the coming week or so. And I truly appreciate, Sebastien, you coming on.
Thank you so much. And it's all thank you to these guys for making it happen for us to watch.
Thank you and good night.
On sale now at Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble stores. The Twins, A Journey of a Lifetime. The brothers and authors Tony and Carl Ruzicka take us through a journey of Chicago sports history and their memories of a bygone era. Purchase your copy today.